So, this movie really addresses loneliness, depression, the search for identity, which is something so many young people are facing right now, especially with the rise of social media. What message do you hope young people take away from this movie, especially those who are struggling with some of these things?
I've seen what social media can do to a lot of us, and especially young people who are still trying to find out who they are, and developmentally that's where they're at. Um, and it's really just awful. I mean, I think about, like, what if I had it when I was coming up? It would just, I mean, it's bad enough knowing, whether your friend invited you some place or some party that somebody else that you're not invited to and someone else is, if that feeling of being left out. Well, when we have social media and everybody has all their highlight reels up, um and you start feeling like you're not living the life you're supposed to live, or you're not good enough, or you're not pretty enough, or it's really challenging. And fads come and go, and what's acceptable comes and goes, and what's cool comes and goes, and the consequences of actions are not realistically portrayed, when everybody just wants to feel good and be happy and escape. Um, and I think that one of the great things about our movie is that we're encouraged in the movie to really define ourselves based on what scripture says about us as the creation, and that we are not the authors of right and wrong, and no one is, um, but God is. And the simplicity of letting God love you is what I tell her in the scene, as her science professor. The scene that I think it's towards the end of the movie. Um, I mean, it sounds so simple, but we really do get in our own way with our, not understanding what's true and trying to be our own God, and um, really pride and fear and all the things that scripture warns us against is what's really gets in our own way. And I love that scene where she actually does start to realize, the character of Madison Montgomery, uh, that it's much simpler than she thought. And uh, and I think that's hard for us to wrap our heads around, how simple it is to really, once we really understand and really surrender. It's not that complicated, and it's actually a relief. Um, but at the same time, the intellectual pursuit has really begun, uh, to ask God the questions, to have the courage to be real, uh, to seek the truth, to get the answers, to grow as a human being, and until the day we die. We're still not going to reach perfection until we die, and there's nothing more important than seeking the truth. And I love that it's portrayed in a very simple way, and not an overwhelming or weird or scary way, but in a very loving way, which is really what it's all about. If I love you, I want you to know the truth. And I think that, um, whether it's scientifically pursuing truth, the way the movie explores, and also spiritually seeking truth, it's so worthwhile, and they both come together beautifully, and they explain each other, they don't contradict. And I love that that's the message of our film.